Adeena presents, in the red corner, the undisputed, undefeated Weed Whacker Guy. Champion of hurling grass and pollen everywhere. And in the blue corner, the challenger, extra strength, Adeena. Eye drops that work all day to prevent the release of histamines that cause itchy allergy eyes. And the winner by knockout is Adeena. Adeena, bring it on.
This program contains subject matter and language that may be disturbing to some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Savaged, unfiltered. Your host, Michael Gardner.
Hey.
Hey, what is going on, Joseph? How's it going, buddy?
Oh, going okay. Not a lot going on. Got a lot of last minute campaign events that are popping up. I got one
last minute one
tonight to go to. I got one tomorrow to go to now. So
wait, last minute what, Joseph?
Campaign events.
Oh, camp. I didn't know what the hell you were saying there for a minute. Okay.
It may have come out as camping. Yeah, I'm not camping. It's too cold.
Yeah. Stock was just telling me, because he lives in kind of your neck of the woods, not too far from you in Wisconsin. He was telling me it was snowing there the other day.
Yeah, the upper parts of Michigan. Yeah, and it's a drizzly, rainy, 40-degree, ugly day today.
Yeah. So we're gonna have join us here momentarily. Her name is Adeena with an A. Like Dina, but put the A in front of Dina. So it's Adeena. I'm gonna have her help me with the last name.
Yeah. We both need it. I looked at it and I thought, okay, I could pronounce that probably a couple different ways.
Yeah, so I was trying to pronounce it, and I'm like, you know what? I learned a long time ago, if you say the last names incorrectly, people usually get mad at you, and then you start getting into a bicker batter war, and I'm like, oh boy. So she's going to be joining us here momentarily, but sorry about the lateness here, about like 3 minutes late into the show this morning, folks. I just happened to get off Soslin's show. We were talking sports for Sports Tuesday, which that show should be airing later this afternoon. Sauce is all over the place. He's traveling. He's, usually when he does these shows, he broadcasts, in hotel rooms, because he's heavily into the Republican committee, Joseph. So, he's usually broadcasting in a hotel room, and sometimes he can't upload it to the platform on Anchor because he uses the same platform I use. But he does a different type of panel, than I do. It's more of of an interview style, rather than a regular podcast. But hey, he's doing good, man. He's ranking up in the ranks. I told him, I was like, man, I was just checking you out the other day, and you're doing very well on Spotify. So kudos to you, man.
Yeah, I'm heavily involved in various Republican clubs and committees also, as you know. And tell Sauce I'm upset. He still hasn't reached out to me for an interview.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. I gotta remind him when I talk to him next, because I just literally got off the show like 5-6 minutes ago. I'm looking at the time. I'm like, oh shit. And I sometimes I have to catch my words when I'm on his show, Joseph, because he's more Christian based, and I respect that, and I respect any show I'm on, I respect their panel and their show. So usually when I'm talking, I talk very, very slow, not like slow, but I talk slower, because I've learned that a long time ago. Like when you talk slower, you can catch your wording, so you don't you don't slip.
You could filter yourself a little easier. And I know Sauce is a more Christian-based show, and so my book still fits, because despite the title, Terror Strikes Coming Soon to a City Near You, and the main topic, it is very much not a book about death. It is a pro-life book, you know. So that's why I like to be on Christian shows to be able to explain that. It's about family values and life, not death, murder, killing, despite the content.
Yeah. Yeah, we just bear with me. Mackenzie's. I didn't tell you. Mackenzie Joseph is in Europe. She'll be in Europe until like November 14th. She told me.
Ooh, la-di-da globetrotter.
Yeah. Well, Mackenzie, she's a model. She does a lot of modeling, and she was telling me, she's like, "Babe, I'm gonna be away, for a month. Is that gonna be okay?" And I'm like, kind of smiling, sarcastically, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, everything's gonna be fine." She looked at me, she's like, "You son of a bitch! Don't be bringing any women over." I was like, "Of course not." I was like, "Don't be finessing with the Italian men over there because she's in Milan." So
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, modeling. I mean, you've got to be serious model. You've got to be able to go there and hobnob with them, and of course, probably Paris at some point too. And
Go all
yeah,
the way with Italiano.
yeah. So, I had to catch my words, Joseph, so, she was like, "Okay, well, you behave yourself and I'll behave myself in Italy." So, I was like, and I don't want to, I'll tell you that story maybe a little later. I don't want to have our guests waiting here. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the honor to welcome to the show, Adeena Mignogna. Did I pronounce that last name correctly? Hello, Adeena.
uh-oh.
Oh, we got it. We have another one.
Get this woman's mic working, huh?
Or is that like a filet mignon? Is it Adeena Mañana?
I think so. Yeah. Hopefully our audio will come in. I don't know what it is. Yep.
Oh, she dropped. Hopefully she'll come right back.
Yeah. Yeah. We seem to be having audio issues with our guests lately. The therapy twins yesterday, and then now Adeena. So, anyways,
Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking to her. I checked her out. I've got some questions. So,
yeah, she's got a book out. Oh, there she is. Adeena, how are you? Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
yeah,
Yeah.
we can now.
Adeena, are you familiar with Anchor FM?
I am, but I've never done a podcast directly recorded into it.
Well, Adeena, what we do here is we do all the nice recording here with the really, really nice quality audio. And then I usually go into my studio and I just put in the nicks and crannies to make it really, really good for Spotify and then all the other platforms. So
Awesome.
Yeah. So the first thing is we need the proper pronunciation of your last name.
It is Mignogna.
Oh, I was close on the
You're
filet
close.
mignon thing.
Yep. Well, and that's how I tell people. I say if they're familiar with filet mignon, but I've been noticing that people don't always pronounce filet mignon the way I pronounce filet mignon.
yeah.
Did you say? Did you say "ya" at the end, like an IA or a YA?
Like an not really a Y, just
Okay, mañana.
Mignogna. See, the middle part's the important part. It's
Mignogna. Okay.
Yeah, like you own something. Not like you're yawning.
Okay,
like
there we go. Let me
Joseph.
phonetically write that now. Own.
Hey, Joseph, the W is silent, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Adeena, tell us a little bit about some of your work. I know you've written a few books, and you have this book out, which I decided to put on the poster for the episode today.
Yay.
Yeah. How did you come up with that title?
So Crazy Foolish Robots.
Yeah.
It didn't start out that way. It was originally titled How to Be a Rocket Scientist.
Really?
And yeah, that's so I had this idea years ago that I'd have this kind of snarky kid who actually was like a little, shuttle pilot. And he lived out in near the asteroid belt, and he kind of was snarky and didn't like people from Earth coming to bug him. And so he came up with this list of, well, if you want to do what I do, here's the rules. Here's how to be the rocket scientist. And almost none of that found its way into the final book.
Well, that's cute because, yeah, as an author, I books go through iterations. We're having a bit of a behind the scenes here. And even if the book would have stayed the same, people don't realize how many iterations, even with movies, titles may go through. You have a working title like mine. I was dead set it was going to be Terror Strikes, but Coming Soon to a City Near You went through various iterations before we got to that as the subtitle.
Yep. Yeah. And a lot of people, because this first book came out in June of 2021, a lot of people have made an assumption that I started and finished it during the whole pandemic. They called it my pandemic book. It's like, no, I started this in 2012.
Yeah, there was a lot of pandemic books that came out. I noticed that. And, it almost, the way you're explaining this, the backstory of the book, it almost sounds similar to the book that I grew up with. I forgot the title, but I think you know what I'm talking about, with the teacher that she had like some type of magic school bus, and they went.
Seatbelts, everyone! Please let this be a normal field trip with a friend. No way!
Cruising on down Main Street, you're relaxed and feeling good.
Like different types of like atmospheres and different stuff like that. It almost sounds similar to that.
In a book form. Or do you mean the Magic School Bus, like the TV show?
Yeah.
The
with
Magic
Miss Frizzle,
School.
Mrs. Frizzle.
Yeah, Miss Frizzle.
Frizzle. Yeah.
Some of the backstory, the backdrop.
Yeah. So Crazy Foolish Robots was also not the second title either. I should say that too, is because when I eventually realized my 17-year-old kid, he was just the most annoying character ever, and he was very cliche. And he had there was another, I'm going to say she started out kind of almost as a sidekick. It was just a secondary character. She wound up taking over and became like the main character. And so I got rid of the guy completely, and she became my character, although I changed her name. It was originally Stella, and it became Ruby. And I aged her a little bit, and then the book was for a while entitled Ruby's Robot Planet. And just as we were working on the cover, I was working with my cover artist, it just wasn't gelling. And I realized what I needed to do was take the name Ruby out of the title, because it just wasn't working. So that's
savaged, unfiltered.
Somehow I got Crazy Foolish Robots. I don't exactly remember like the moment when I had that aha moment, but it was maybe like 2 months before the book actually came out that I settled on
Adeena, if it works, it works, right? I mean, if it's the molding, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I go with it. But has it brought you some type of success though? I mean, have you seen a lot of people drawing to that book?
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is it's not a young adult book, although because there's no like adult themes in it, I don't actually use bad language in it. A lot of people think, oh, well, it's got to be a young adult book. It's like, no, I just wrote it for me, and it is just what it is. So the surprising things is I get actually a lot of older readers. A lot of my like core readers of this are in their 60s and 70s.
Really?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about the name thing again, because you said Stella. Did that derive from Interstellar?
That's no. I should have just said yes. No. But it should have. That would have been great. Maybe I'll have to do that in a shelf to come back in a future.
Yeah, I'm surprised that it's drawing the attention of elderly, rather than millennials, because that name, crazy, what is it? Crazy Foolish
Robots.
Yeah. You'd think it would draw attention of millennials, right? Younger people, college bound students, but. Wow, that's a surprising hook there.
It might just be how I'm getting the word out and who I'm marketing to. And I think I get into a lot of like newsletters and stuff where there are just, a lot of people who just read a lot and devour a lot of science fiction. And it might just be that simple. That's where, I'm hitting, that's where I'm showing up the most.
Yeah.
Yeah, and before we get too far in, I want to recommend people go to Amazon and follow you. I did that this morning,
Oh, yay.
and and follow all the authors. Me, you, Lance, that was on the other day. All the authors that Michael has on his show. You should go to Amazon and click follow so you can get updates when new stuff comes out. But I'm staring at the Amazon page right now. I'm cheating with the inside the book feature because I don't have a Kindle. I don't do Kindle. So I'm cheating with the inside the book look feature. And I see out of the millions of email messages traveling daily between Earth and Astral 2. Well, I just want to stop there and tease you about in the future. I sure hope we're still not using the same dull, boring email. Why didn't you create V-mail for like video mail or virtual mail where a hologram shows us a letter?
Yeah, well, so that's an interesting question because that came up in my writers group recently. We were talking about another thing about my future. So the book takes place about 200 years in the future, but it's meant to be somewhat humorous in a way that while it's the future, I'm not trying to like accurately project into the future. I want people to still kind of have a feeling of nowness, so and again, and so with that kind of humorous thing, taking things that really are familiar to people day to day kind of shows up a lot. It's almost like, even though I say the book is 200 years in the future, some aspects of it feel like maybe it's 10 or 20.
Gotcha. So you're not doing an H.G. Wells thing here.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say something here. I mean, it's doing phenomenal on Goodreads, Adeena. I see it's a 4.5 out of 5. I mean, that's pretty good.
I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, that's a good rating. I mean, everybody wants a 5, but if you get like a 4.5, I mean, that's great.
Yeah, I'm happy being over 4. I feel like I'm happy that I'm over 4 because, I'm not going to be for, my writing isn't going to be for everybody. Everyone has their likes and dislikes. That's cool. I know not everyone's going to love this, but the fact that a lot of people do, I'm very happy. I'm glad it's helping motivate me finish the series.
Yeah, sadly, there's always a troll or two, though. For whatever reason, they get a kick out of going around and bad mouthing people and their stuff. Yeah, so 4.5 is indeed pretty good. And another thing I noticed on the page is you seem to do Kindle exclusively or ebooks, which to me, I'm thinking, and you can address, is a financial thing because self-publishing a physical book, I can attest to, gets pretty expensive. And I see you use ebook launch. And I'd even like Michael to pass my number along to you after the show. I'd like to have a private discussion behind the scenes about your work with ebook launch, because I may do my next project Kindle only, and I'd like to know your experience and pricing with them.
Yeah. So I will say that, so ebook launch is the name of the company that did my covers. They're the ones who I hired to do the cover artwork. But I've done, these days where I guess I'm calling myself an indie publisher. So the moment the books are exclusively on Amazon, but they are available on Amazon in paperback too. So it's not just Kindle, it's paperback.
Now, Adeena, I had a question.
Audio.
Yeah, I had a question here. Before I get to the question, we Joseph, we reached out to Soslin. He was supposed to join us in the beginning of the show. He's running late, so if he comes in, he comes in. If he doesn't, it's okay. Soslin, Adeena, is my other co-host that joins me during the week. I had a question here for you with the paperback.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not. I don't write books, or I've thought about writing books. I wrote a short book on Amazon Kindle, actually, the ebook format. But it was a very, very short book. It was maybe like 6 or 7 chapters. But, my question is with the soft cover, you mentioned soft cover. Do you see yourself as an author doing well with the soft cover rather than the ebook format?
So I've definitely, I should, don't off the top of my head, like have my sales numbers, but I think so. So there's the two different ways the book is available is, the paperback, so the softcover book, and then an e-format. But between the e-format, the two different ways you can do that is just you can buy the Kindle book or you can read it on Kindle Unlimited. And so when I look at my numbers, I actually personally don't differentiate. I differentiate Kindle Unlimited page reads versus sales, but then in my head, I haven't split up sales between ebook and the physical book. I should do that because I think it's actually about evenly split, maybe a little bit more e-sales.
Yeah, I know there's statistics that Amazon does and other publishers do where they'll break it down where age wise, because we have it here on podcasting where they'll give you a bracket chart of where your shows and stuff like that are going. What age group, what gender and everything else. Does the statistics show that with you at all?
No, unfortunately, that's one of the downsides of Amazon.
Really?
And exclusively with Amazon. It just breaks down just the fact of sales. It tells you you get no information from Amazon on who bought your book.
See, that's something Amazon might want to roll out soon. The statistics, kind of how they do it
would
with
be nice.
And Audible books. Yeah, because I know Audible, which is an Amazon company, they break down the statistics for the Audible books. The age, the gender, this, different types of origins, countries that you're reaching. So that's a rather interesting thing that, even authors might want to bring to Amazon's attention.
Oh, I know. As an author, we would love to have that kind of data.
Well, yeah, it helps your strengths and it helps your weaknesses. Where you're doing great at and where you need to improve. Because every great author has their weaknesses.
Yep.
Yeah, well, at least with Amazon, you do get some information. Whereas if you're when this book sells through Books A Million or Barnes and Noble and all those other places, you get next to no information other than through like the Ingram Sparks that a book was sold.
Yeah, I could see that.
Michael Gardner, uncut, raw, uncensored.
So what's next for Adeena? Is there going to be some more books coming out in the near future, or?
Yes. So this series, so 2 books are out. It's meant to be a series of 4. So book number 3 will be available at the end of November, and it is. I'm actually in the final stages of editing it with my editor right now. And then the book 4 is. I've started the draft of it. I have the outline. I know what's happening. I know all the new characters. I know all the details. I just got to write it. And
Adeena, I must say you're a very, very fast writer, and you seem to have a really good editing staff behind you, to get these books out really, really quick.
Well, that's the thing. Remember, I started 10 years. I started on this 10 years ago. So once the first one kind of came into place, what was really that even the original story, when I realized I didn't want it to be one humongously long book, is when I decided to break it up into 4. And so it was like getting the first one done. That was the big hurdle. And so, since then, it's kind of fallen into place for this series. But even then, I really, for the next series that I do, I'll have actually like a shorter, time span in between books. Because right now it was like, that was what I was really not expecting when book 1 came out. One of the biggest negative responses I got was like, well, wait a second. What about book 2? And I had not yet planned book 2. I mean, I knew it was going to happen, but I didn't have it on the calendar.
Apparently you're doing something right. If they see book 1 doing great, they want to know where book 2 is.
Right.
And you're getting.
I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't know it?
So now that I know, for the next series, I'll kind of have that all planned out ahead of time.
Then you're really on the map. You know what I mean?
Yes, that'd be great someday. A girl can dream.
Hey, we got to take baby steps to be successful in life.
Yep, absolutely.
You should have heard me when I first started podcasting. I was doing a lot of oh boy, people were like, Mike, are you okay? That's all.
Right. And now you've got 300 and something episodes. It's amazing.
Yeah, we're almost finished with season 3. We're about to wrap it up soon in the next couple of months here, and then start season 4 in January. So We're doing well. I want to eventually, what's going to happen, we're going to go to video podcasting in January because I think, Joseph mentioned on yesterday's show, that's where it's at. Video podcasting is what people want to see.
Mm-hmm.
The audio is nice, but it resembles a lot of the old school talk radio, like the terrestrial radio,
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you audio podcasting is so much easy to edit rather than video.
Yes. So I don't know if you saw, but that's also one of my my side gigs is I'm co-host of the Big Sci-Fi podcast. And
I seen that.
Yeah. And that was, a year ago, if you had told me I was going to be a podcaster, I would have said you're crazy. And mostly because I had no interest in doing any editing. And I did have an appreciation for what went into that. But one of my co-hosts edits. So it makes it awesome for one. And he's great at it. But also we've, what we decided to do is we've done a little bit of video, and we've already recognized how different that is. And how much more
kind of to tease that, to get your listeners pretty much involved in your show more. But you mentioned podcasting, Adeena. Like, what do you think about podcasting? Do you like doing it? You mentioned you're a co-host.
Yeah, I love doing it. I love being on, effectively the radio, which I've always kind of loved ever since I did some radio back in college. And I do love having these kinds of conversations. And so that's the magic of our podcast. It's like me and three friends, and we're having a conversation about our favorite stuff. So it's great. And sometimes we have guests, but we're not an exclusive guest show. We kind of alternate between just having an episode about a topic versus
you touched something very closely. Hold on, Sas. I see you just popping in here, and I'll introduce you to the to our guest. You mentioned guests, Adeena. It's always great having a guest on your show, but sometimes having too many guests on your show can cause that clog. I noticed, I've been noticing now, obviously, we're almost pushing 400 episodes. You get to that bracket as a podcast host and a show, you start getting, because I could tell you right now, I get so many guest requests that come in through different types of platforms. Hey, I'd love to be on your show. I think I'm a good fit, and I'd love to share and explain my story and my journey. And I'm like, I'm all for it. But, it gets to a point where you can't have every show. You have to learn how to, pick and choose. And it's hard. I can tell you, there's a lot of times where I literally have to deny some of these and refer them to other shows, that I've been on, or other shows that I personally know, and say, maybe you can go over there. I wish I can have you on the show, but I'm booked. I can tell you right now, Adeena, I'm booked up until like next July.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you choosing me.
Yeah. We happened to we had to look deep into the weekly lineup, and I'm like, I think I could put her on Tuesday. That's good.
Awesome.
But Adeena here, I want to introduce you to my co-host. I normally have on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but he wanted to join in here. This is Mr. Soslin Timison from his show, Remember God Loves You, and I'll meet you at the finish line.
Hello, Miss Adeena. This is Soslin. How's it going?
Good. How are you? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Well, I've been really busy, actually. So we just got done. So on my show, we call it Sports Tuesday, and Michael Gardner co-hosts on my Sports Tuesday podcast.
Yeah. Joseph, are you still with us? We're getting a lot of. Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
I'm still with you. You've been going down a good line of thought. I didn't feel the need to chime in. I did want to ask Adeena about one other technical aspect. As I invested in a book trailer. I see you don't have that, and I don't think probably you need to, but I see you do blogs. I do blogs too, but I don't have an RSS feed from my blog to be able to tie to Amazon, because when I was looking at your page, I saw how blogs are attached to your author page, and that's a great additional little promotional thing. And I looked at if I could put a copy of my blog up, but I can't. You've got to have an RSS feed blog. But do you get much response to the blogs that are listed on your Amazon author page?
Hey guys, if you're trying to look for some new sauces, try Heart Soul Heat. They're out of St. Paul, Minnesota. They have two amazing products called Ghost Pepper and Ghost Honey, guys. Tremendous. I've tried them before. It will make your tongue go crazy. Mention you heard it on Savage Unfiltered Podcasts. And it's very important, guys. Make sure you tell them that. Because I'm referring you, the listener, over to Heart Soul Heat.
I don't.
Check them out today,
so
guys.
Of course,
I think you're gonna love it.
because so I use WordPress as my core website and blog software.
Why.
So yeah, so the RSS stuff is there. I'm going to just say it comes with it. It's just there. And then because when on the Amazon author page, they just have the option, hey, link it here. Well, okay, I will link it. But no, I don't get a lot of traffic. And I'm going to say I don't get a lot of traffic to the blog, or at least not as much as I'm hoping to. I don't really worry about it. I think to some degree, having a lot of those blog articles are more about me practicing what I want to say on certain topics, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it masters the craft. I get what you're saying. Now, I hope you don't mind, but I want to go back to this podcast here because I think it's rather interesting, that you're a co-host on another show, which is a really good marketing tool for yourself, as an author, I think.
Movie comes out, all right, we're going there on a Friday night and we're going to watch it. But I think it's one of those things, don't ever I understand if you want to be a crazy fan, you can do 22 movies before Endgame all in one go. I would say your best bet if you want to get caught up is just try to watch them over a period of time. Like maybe watch one a week for the next year.
For the next, that's
it's a lot. It's a lot of time.
That's a lot.
That's what my daughter's boyfriend Alan is doing. Actually, fiance.
In all honesty, I'm not saying this in a bad way, but it's almost a very it's a cheaper way of self promoting rather than going to another aspect. Do you find yourself as a co-host to another podcast show a good aspect or a bad aspect?
You mean being a co-host?
Yeah, being a co-host.
I think it is wonderful because there is a shared responsibility there. And I think for me, that was one of the things that attracted me to doing it, because, going out and just doing it on my own, I just didn't have the bandwidth to take on like a whole podcast, I guess, on my own.
Yeah. Because that's a lot of work, Adeena. You're a full active author. You mentioned just before, you're coming out with a book next month. You're a co-host to another podcast show. And I mean, just imagine doing all that, writing books, and then having your very own show without a co-host. That would be extremely hard.
Right. Well, and don't, I have a day job too, and I have kids. So
oh, wow. You're like a super mom. You're the super mom. That's awesome. Some days. Okay.
Yeah, I agree with you, Adeena. I'm the same way. I had several people ask me, because I'm involved in politics, so why don't I do a podcast? And I tell them I put my money into my book rather than a podcast, because people don't realize to do a podcast right, you've got to invest like Michael has. So I'm greatly appreciative also of Michael having me on as a panelist several days. That indeed, like you, it saves us the trouble of having to do a podcast ourselves from scratch, while the benefit of being able to be on and promote ourselves and our products.
Yeah, I can agree. Agree.
And so it's great. And the team that I'm with, that my co-hosts, really, it is like we're like just a group of friends sitting around talking about our favorite science fiction. So the show itself is so much fun. And then we split the responsibility of getting things done and of marketing and of planning out our episodes, and all of it. So it's been working out. We started recording in January. Episodes started releasing in February, and we re-release monthly. I'm sorry, we release weekly. New episode every
so you're a fairly new podcast then, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, I mean, are you, as a fairly new podcast, I'm not sure if you know how it works, but usually you start off on the lower platforms. I don't know what platform are you. I'm assuming you guys use Anchor FM, right?
Well, we started on Anchor and we moved to Libsyn.
I've heard that.
And now my co-host does take care of a lot of the technical mechanisms there. But the interesting thing was, somewhere before the summer started, I don't remember, it was through Facebook. I learned about this network. So I live near Frederick, Maryland, and found out about this network called Listen Frederick. And it's just a network of local podcasts. And even though all my co-hosts are not local, the fact that they accepted us into the network. And through that, we have access to Libsyn via them. And it was just another way to market and get to know other podcasters and have more, again, marketing opportunities. And so now we're on Libsyn.
Yeah, it's very similar to Anchor. I mean, obviously, Anchor FM. The gentleman that I have on the show right now. I mean, Joseph resides in Detroit, and Sosland resides in Wisconsin. But I mean, that's great. Back in the day, everybody had to come to a studio and record, and before podcasting was podcasting. And I mean, just think of the travel expense. You're saving so much money just by doing it from the comforts of, your laptop or a tablet or a cell phone. A lot of folks use a laptop. I use a laptop with a mic. It's just so much easier. But Sasha, are you there, buddy?
I am. I'm just
okay.
I'm just absorbing
every now and then because we feel that we don't want to leave you left out, Sash. You have to jump in every now.
Well, so like with podcasting and stuff. I have to say I started so my whole podcasting journey didn't start until like Michael, because I used to do like Facebook Live, and I didn't expect I wasn't bringing in as many people as I wanted on Facebook Live, but also helped what Facebook Live did to me and stuff, which was just took my ability to like do that live and took it away, because when you're adopted from another country, that kind of doesn't go in your favor. So what happened was Michael introduced me to Anchor, and then I just fire in the cotton field. You just boom or flourish.
Yeah, I could see that. But Adeena here. Do you see anything else for yourself, or just you just want to stick with books and podcasting?
Well, books and podcasting until Netflix comes around and offers me a deal for my books, in which case we'll turn it into a screenplay.
Amen. I hear you on that, Adeena. People are always asking about that aspect too. Could my book potentially be made into a movie? I say, yeah, it could, but and the other thing is audio books. Whereas my book has got special fonting and formatting, so it doesn't lend well to the Kindle, let alone an audio book. People wouldn't be able to follow it as easily. Now, you said I think Mike hinted at, though I didn't see on the
Savaged, Unfiltered
Amazon page. It is yours or at least one available in audio form?
So Crazy Foolish Robots is available in audiobook form. However, it's not yet on Audible, but it's like on every other audio platform out there right now. We're working to get, we had some issues getting it into Audible, but I think we're just about done working that out. And I'm hoping, any day now it'll be on Audible.
So quick question.
Yeah.
Okay. So in order to make a book an Audible, what do you have to do? Like, is there like a certain process, or do you have to read the whole book into like the mic, or what's the process?
Yeah. Well, so the process that I went through, so there's a few different ways, to do it. So it's really as simple as, yes, you need to find someone, either yourself or someone you like, or whose voice you like, to read the book and record and do some, at least, there's always going to be a little bit of post-production on that. And you can do it through a variety of different methods. Audible has their ACX program where you can do it right through there. And you can, as an author, you can go on to ACX and set up your account and look for, an interview or, audition narrators right there and do it through that platform. Or there is other services available that are similar. And that's actually what I went with. There's one called Find Away Voices. That's the one I used. So I signed up for Find Away Voices. I put up basically like a sample of my book to have people audition for it. And I selected one, and she read it, and there was always like little edits, and I listened to it and made sure everything was pronounced right, yada yada. And then boom, it's there as an audiobook, and find a way they distribute it through all the different channels. But we had an issue with Audible.
Yeah, there's so many different platforms that you can use. I mean, we're on Audible. The podcast here, Savage Unfiltered, we just became available on Audible probably about 3 months ago. Actually, 3 months ago was really the month where our show took its map. We went to iHeartRadio, which is a big one. Amazon Music is another big one. Pandora, I think, is a big one. And then Audible. And I have folks that sometimes listen, and, I'm on so many different blogs as well, online blogs. And some of the folks that reach out to me, they're like, how did you get your podcast to Audible? Because that's usually for books. I'm like, well, it's very easy, but it's easy to somebody that understands on how to do it, because there's folks that are, somewhat tech savvy, and there's folks that just like don't know how to go around that. I have a lot of pull in a lot of different networks because, like you mentioned earlier in the show, you used to work for a college radio program. I have embedded in a college radio program as myself in my early 20s when I was going through college and everything. And that's pretty much where I learned a lot of what I'm doing now. I was originally a wire guy, a tech guy, and they taught me different things. And, there's certain different, kind of leeways in the business, and there's always a different approach of doing it. Now, how I did it was through a program that's affiliated with Anchor FM. Where basically they read off. Are you familiar with RSS, Adeena?
Yes.
Yeah. How I got my program on Audible is where I entered my RSS, which every major podcast network has. They all have your RSS. That's how you get your podcast program or your show available on other platforms. You click into that RSS. So I clicked into my RSS and I basically plugged it into Audible. Now, I was expecting to have it rejected because they normally favor books more than podcasts. Been accepted. I'm like, that's great. And we just went from there. So
interesting. We'll look into that. Yeah, I want to look into that. I think I had seen the concept of podcasts in Audible, but I didn't really think too deeply about it because, that's not where I feel like that was not where most people go to look for podcasts.
Well, they have a separate category now. Yeah. They have Audible ebooks, and then they have your podcast or talk radio shows. So
okay. I'm gonna add that to my homework list.
Well, because Adeena, so even with being so the interesting part is I'm on Audible as well. I just found, and it's about to be, I think, into sports. Is that right, Michael?
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. A lot of people that are getting into the industry of podcasting, where I don't have a problem of explaining it to other podcasters that are just getting into it. What is actually interesting, podcasting works almost similar to people that write books, authors. When you start developing other content topics on your show, there are what we call in the industry, they're almost similar to like poll workers, right? That work political polls. What they do is, or I like to call them as trolls. They're in a good way, not a bad way. They'll actually listen to your show, and they work for these different types of platforms: iHeart, Spotify, Pandora, Amazon Music, everything. And they'll see the type of content that you're bringing in. Okay, he pretty much fits into the political viewpoint, or he's more of a sports podcast, or a society and culture podcast. When you split into different categories, you basically, you bring that into your show.
Too, there are some that are using Google services. You can have AI even read your book for far less, but I agree with you. The route you went is better to have a real person, because the AI doesn't understand where proper inflections and deviation of voice needs to occur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like, now AI reading, I'm going to say, has its place. Like, even just as a writer, sometimes what I'll do is in like Microsoft Word, you can have it read back your document to you. And from editing that document, that's hearing it as opposed to looking at it on the screen, it helps you catch some mistakes when you hear it. So there's definitely like a room for that kind of, for that technology in our lives. Although now that I think about it, because my book is about, these funny alien robots, having like an AI read it might have made sense too.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, that would have made sense. It would have been cute and clever
Yeah,
for
maybe I'll
that.
have an alternate
Yeah.
reading. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm glad you gave that tip or trick because the next project I'm working on right now is becoming a better writer and how to become a published author.
Mhm.
And that's one of the tips and tricks I've written into my next book. For
Awesome.
people looking to become an author and becoming published, that is indeed it. Have Word or whatever program read it back to you. Because, yes, hearing it can make a difference because when you, as an author, read your own book, and we all do this, it's part of human nature, you can accidentally read what you expect to be there rather than what is actually there.
Oh yeah, yeah, I agree. Guys, I want to apologize for the noise. I'm going to edit that out. Obviously, Sas and Joseph know I reside in Florida, Adeena, and
Yeah.
we're experiencing a lot of thunderstorms. We've had a really, really terrible season, if
Yeah,
that.
I know. I have a lot of family down there, so
Yeah,
luckily,
we have a
yep,
thunderstorm right now going over us, so
lovely.
we're gonna basically cut this here in the next couple of minutes. Just if it does cut, I don't want you thinking, oh, he cut it. And no, it's hopefully it doesn't cut. So but
So, Adeena, before we kind of conclude, what made you like ever start doing it, becoming a podcaster? Has that always been your dream, or have you been more of an author that slowly transitioned into podcasting?
Actually, so I'm going to say neither.
No.
It wasn't really always a dream, although I've always had interest in audio work. Like I mentioned, I did radio
But they're
in
digitally
college,
imposing the
and
face of the actress who when she's not She-Hulk. I bet that's what that is.
Well, you're
Oh,
probably
that
right
sounds
because
that
that's
sounds
what
plausible.
I've
they
always
did
had
with
just,
Ruffalo.
I'm a speaker. I do love audio stuff. Okay. And this time last year, I was a guest on a lot of podcasts, and people kept asking me, hey, are you going to start your own? And at the time I was like, well, no, because I didn't want to do it on my own. And then it was in November, December of last year, I met up with some people. We were actually all writing for, so I'm a big Star Trek fan. That is my core science fiction fandom is Star Trek. And I was doing some articles for a fan site, just about Star Trek. And I met these other guys as part of it. And we were going to all kind of be part of a podcast for that site, but that fell apart. But a couple of us have recorded a couple episodes, and we felt that there was some chemistry there. So we were like, well, let's just go do our own podcast. And we did. And it's such a great time. So I've enjoyed everything about it since we started.
There, like I say, you learn your base. You sometimes you branch into other topics, but your topic is pretty much like sci-fi, right? You guys pretty much stay on that point there.
Well, so we'll have so every episode has a theme. Like, so we'll talk about, one episode will be like aliens and science fiction, or one will be about like faster than light travel and science fiction. And whoever is out of the four of us, one of us takes the lead for that episode, and kind of comes up with some questions ahead of time to help us prepare. So we
Trekkie than a Star Warsian or whatever the heck they call themselves, because Star Trek has been great, and although Star Trek, I gotta say, lately is the new incarnations have gone political, gone woke. I have no idea why, but Star Trek did always deal in culture issues of the day back then. I mean, a lot of those episodes dealt with racism and things of that nature. So, but I think Star Wars has really gone off the rails. So I remain more a Star Trek fan.
Yeah. I'm, so the way I describe it to people is I majored in Star Trek, I minored in Star Wars, and love everything else. But, Star Wars, I have a special love for Star Wars because at the age of like 6 or 7 is when I first got exposed to the first, the very, very, very first Star Wars movie, A New Hope Episode 4. So I was 6 in 1980, and that was about when I started watching that. And I fell in love with R2D2 and C3PO right away. And so that my love of robots really comes from that. But then I'm going to say a few years later is when I really got into Star Trek, and I was a teenager when Star Trek: The Next Generation was in its first run on air, and that's my core Trek. I mean, like that my teenage years were defined by Next Generation, and my love of aerospace and space and doing all the space stuff kind of comes from Star Trek.
Yeah,
so all
Adeena,
of it, I love all of it.
You're not too far from my generation. Obviously it seems like you're like 6 years older than me. But I remember when those series came out. I mean, I was a little bit younger than you then, but just the different series of Star Trek and then Star Wars, and I mean Star Wars goes back to like the 70s, but that's where, in my opinion, where all the CGI came in, the early CGI. And I love that. I love movies with CGI, but
yeah. And then the new Trek, all the stuff that's happening now is, well, one, I'm still happy because I remember the time when we didn't have new Trek, any new Trek. And like, I kind of remember that, like that desert, that lull. So the fact that we have so much right now, I'm that person. I'm not going to like look a gift horse in the mouth. But one of the interesting things, so one of my favorite new Treks is Lower Decks, the animated comedy. And one, I love animated stuff. 2, I love comedy stuff. But 3, it's the show that my oldest son, he's 12. And so for years, he's always known that mommy is a Star Trek fan, but he was never, getting into it. Lower Decks is bringing him into the fandom. And so I am extra excited about that because we'll watch Lower Decks and it's full of references to Next Generation, to Deep Space Nine, to Voyager, and to original series. So then what we have to do is he's like, Mom, well, what's that? Where did that come from? Well, guess what? We got to go watch this old episode. And he will actually watch it with me and willingly watch it with me.
Yeah, I have a daughter of mine. She's 16 and she's getting into all that. She's like, Dad, I don't know why, the rest of the students in high school, they don't like Star Trek. They don't like Star Wars. This stuff is great. I'm like, yeah.
What do you think they're missing?
Do you think that Star Wars and the Star Trek and Star Wars is becoming outdated in this generation?
What? No,
you don't think so?
No, not at all. So, there's a lot of key difference. So, asking that question about Star Trek and asking that question about Star Wars are very different questions because they're such different franchises.
Yeah, they're different franchises, but they have similarities in some type of form.
I would say there's actually I would argue that there's very little similarity other than they're both set in outer space. And some of the key difference, and I think the key difference in this context is that Star Trek started out as a TV series with kind of like and they kind of was developing like this whole universe for a series for, again, they had like 70 something original episodes. That's 70 something, like almost 70 something hours of content. Where when Star Wars got its start, yes, it was kind of its own self-contained universe, but it started out with really one movie. And maybe they had some kind of concept for the other movies, but they didn't start out with as much depth in the universe. And they've been trying, in my opinion, to backfill and kind of expand when their base was not as core or is not as expansive as Star Trek was. And
I agree. And I think 4, 5, and 6 were great films. When they went back to do episodes 1, 2, and 3, it's where they went off the rails, and it's been garbage since. I love the original Star Trek shows, but my favorite is Enterprise with Scott Bakula. Is kind of my favorite Star Trek.
Well, here's the thing, Joseph. You mentioned it started going, it's becoming garbage and everything. That's what happens when you take a franchise like that and you try to blend it into some of our society. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you wokenize it.
Yeah, you wokenize it. And again, even the current Star Treks, I forget. I watched the first two seasons of not Explorer, but Discovery. Yeah, I thought the first two seasons were good, but now again, yeah, they're gone woke. It's getting ridiculous. But again, Star Trek always did have a root in cultural issues. So it's kind of hard to fault them. But I won't watch it. But you're right, Sauce. Like the Star Wars early on went woke, and the need for this next film has got to be a female lead, whether it fits the generic storyline we were planning on, and or not. And there's all that unfortunateness in these.
Joseph, just look at the latest Star Wars, with Harrison Ford. I mean, that last movie was a flop. I mean, they expected, so much from that movie. It was going to be such a success blockbuster, and I think it did terrible.
To the beginning, like Scream did, and Halloween is doing,
but look at Rotten Tomatoes,
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, Rotten Tomatoes gave that movie, I think, like a 3. It was terrible.
Oh, wow.
It was real low.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, if you bring back the original, that tends to do better. But you're right. For some reason, the Star Wars one with the old characters was the exception to the rule. Like Ghostbusters Aftermath did really good, doing a hat tip to the original crew. And like I said, Scream and Halloween has gone woke too, Sauce.
Yeah, Joseph, we mentioned that, on an early episode with Ghostbusters, like when they came out with the female version of Ghostbusters, I thought that was a slap in the face in the franchise,
Yeah, and it flopped, rightfully so, but Aftermath thankfully brought it back and did well, even despite the COVID lingering lockdown and less people going to the show issues. Yeah, we discussed that all in a movies episode. People should go back on Anchor, Savage Unfiltered, and look up.
I need to go. I haven't seen the most recent Ghostbusters movie that you mentioned. I have not.
Oh, please, Adeena, don't spend your money on it. It was actually the Aftermath one was good, but I'm talking
that's
about
the one I'm talking about. Oh, that's what I'm saying. I haven't seen. Yeah.
Aftermath is definitely worth seeing, but we're kind of getting off the beaten path here from Adeena's work.
Well, this is exactly how my podcast goes: is we have like a topic, science fiction. We just tangent a little bit. That's this, and then we come back.
Adeena, that's what makes the show relevant. That's what brings in the audience. That's what I noticed. Like if you're going to talk about the same boring topic all the time, you're going to lose your base. You have to blend it a little bit.
The funny part is, so I have Michael on my show quite a bit, and we start on one topic, and then somehow you never know what might come out of my mouth. And it's just and I said, you know what? I'm sorry for bouncing all over after we're done. But I said, one way to keep your audience attracted is if you talk about a whole bunch of variety of subjects, but somehow correlate it back to where you started.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, it's like a book. Let's get back to books and Adeena. Like I'm sure, like my book is not just about terrorism. I mean, there's a lot of other sub themes in there. So through your sci-fi work, usually sci-fi is set up to present that alternate kind of universe or reality, but you have very relevant to today's time and place subject matter. And you hinted at that at the top about not getting too sci-fi, rooting it in reality of today still too. And what sub-themes do you like to touch on in these books?
So I'm very, one of the things that got me into, because my day job is I work in aerospace, and, science fiction was essentially my gateway into science, right? So I do kind of like to, in some kind of, I guess, not so hidden way, but have enough stuff there that someone reading my book might get interested in real science. Like, if I'm writing about Saturn and Saturn's moon Titan, well, maybe they're motivated to then look at it like, well, okay, I don't actually know anything about Titan in real life. What's Titan in real life like? And start thinking about that. So if there's anything, even though that in itself is not a theme, I would say that's an underlying hope or underlying wish for people reading my stuff.
Adeena, all this topics and material that you're bringing into the show, have you ever thought about reaching over to Elon Musk? Because he might want to be on your show about
He's
all.
my competitor. So in my day job, I work for a competing company.
Okay. We'll leave this. We'll leave the SpaceX and the Space Force out of the conversation.
Well, no, actually, it's okay. No, SpaceX is, we do actually launch a lot on their rockets too. So no, it's
okay. Yeah, I live about 45 minutes to an hour west of the SpaceX facility.
Cool.
So, I mean, yeah. Well, it's not cool because the house is constantly shaking all the time.
Okay. Well, there's that.
Yeah, we get those sonic booms constantly. Take off and then they land and all that other stuff. But.
Yeah, and it is really I'll even though they are one of our competitors, I'm going to say they've been doing amazing things for the industry. It's very exciting. It's incredibly exciting.
Well, I live in Central Florida. I live in Orlando, and this area of Florida, we named it over the years the Space Coast. And the amount of economy that's coming into this area, through SpaceX and Space Force it's tremendous. The job market, it's crazy. I think they just hired like over almost 500,000 new employees just in the SpaceX program. Crazy.
Yeah, as more and more is happening. And one of the big things that's upcoming that I'm very excited about is the NASA's Artemis missions, which are, in large part supported by, a whole variety of commercial companies across the country and everything, including, I can say the company I work for Northrop Grumman. Although through one of their acquisitions, I've always worked for some space company, and Northrop bought us a few years ago, and so that's where I am. But yeah, what's happening, in NASA's plans to go back to the moon and onto Mars, and the way they're involving commercial industries, it's just amazing, and I just can't wait to see this upcoming moon mission happen.
Oh yeah.
I'm looking forward to that too, and I'm going to have to take this point to sign off. It was good chatting with you, Adeena. Appreciate being part of the show again, Michael. Good hearing from you again too, Sauce. But I'm going to have to wrap off.
Yeah, we're going to wrap it up here as myself here, because I have to wrap it up. I got to get some side projects worked on for the show. But it was great hearing you, Joseph. Thank you very much, buddy. And we'll see you during the week, man.
Yeah, take care, everybody. God bless.
All righty.
Bye.
All right, Adeena. As we're going to conclude here with you, is there anything else you want to add into the show for some listeners?
Yeah, no, just if you have any interest in science fiction and science and all this stuff, go check out my website, adeenam.com, and you can find my books, you can find my email newsletter, and I don't know, share my love of science and science fiction.
Sounds great. And if you'd like, you can plug in your show. I always love, giving that honor and opportunity to the guest if I do have a fellow podcaster on the show. So for some of my listeners that tune in on a lot of platforms, including iHeartRadio, where can they find you with your show?
Sure. So we are the Big Sci-Fi Podcast, and we go where few science fiction fans have gone before. Well, really, all we do is have fun discussing and talking about our favorite shows. And you can find us on Google Podcasts. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. And I guess through Libsyn, you can find us too. Stitcher.
Sounds good. Yeah, sounds good. Well, I want to thank you on behalf of the show here and a lot of the listeners that tune in. It was a great honor having you on the show of Savage Unfiltered.
Well, thank you.
And I want to wish you the best, with your books and, future books that come out, and including your show too. I wish you the best of luck with the podcast.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
Great job on your work, by the way.
Thank Thank you.
No problem.
All right, Adeena. You have a good day.
You too. Thanks.
Bye bye now.